Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is King Sam, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how to make this animation completely free for yourself here in After Effects. So let's jump right into the video. So we come to our file explorer here and click this, drag it into After Effects right here and paste it here. Now your import kind should be on composition and your footage dimension should be on layer size. So I'm going to click OK. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up our logo layer here, and we have it blank like this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to come down here, left click and create a new solid, and make sure the solid color is like white but not white, just off white like this, and click on OK. So we're just going to move this down somewhere here. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select all my layers here, and I'm just going to open up the title action shape here, open my position, and I'm just going to adjust it so it will be in the middle of our composition here. So something like this. Cool. Now we can close this up. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to move all my text layers here. I'm going to move it back to around 2 seconds right here. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to my logo layer here. I'm going to click on P to open up my position keyframes, and I'm going to make a keyframe on the position right here. I'm going to move forward in my timeline here. So let's say somewhere around here. I can change this later and just align it to the center of my composition right here. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this layer, my logo layer here, and drop it at the top of my composition right here. So let's zoom in a little bit. Let's say 50%. And what I can do here is I can come and get my pen tool right here. What I'm just going to do is, let's zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to make a stroke. So remember, your fill here should be off. And for my stroke here, I'm using a white stroke. And the stroke width is at 20% or 20 pixels. So what I can do now is I can just make a point here, make another point here, make another point here, and just draw the shape like this. So I can just adjust it like this. The next thing I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make sure nothing is selected right here. So by clicking out somewhere here, nothing is selected anymore. And I'm just going to use my pen tool again to draw this shape like this. So I'm basically going to do the same thing until I cover everything with this stroke. Now I'm done with that, what I can just do is I can just open all my shape layers here, and I'm just going to copy what's inside the contents here and paste it in my first shape layer here. So copy and paste it down here. So when I'm done with that, I can just actually delete the layer that I just copied from. So I'm going to do the same thing for the next shape layers right here. What I can just do now is I can just shut off all the contents right here and add a trim path expression. So what I'm just going to do now is I'm going to open up the trim path here, come to around this point to your timeline and make a keyframe on the end position. Come to the beginning here, and I'm just going to reduce it back to 0. And make sure your trim multiple shapes is set to simultaneously, not individually. So if you do all that right, this is what you're supposed to have. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up each of the shape layers here, open up my stroke layers in each of them, and I'm just going to change the align cap to a round cap. Okay, if you're done with that, let's close this off, and I'm just going to click F4 to toggle between modes, and I'm just going to my Lego layer here, and I'm just going to change the track mark to shape layer 1 here. If you want, you can change the name of this to logo mat. So now if you did that right, this is what you're supposed to have, and that's cool. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm just coming back to my logo mat layer here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to my pen tool here, and if you can see, there are some overlaps in our animation right here, and that's what we're going to work on right now. So I'm just going to select the angles that have problem like this, and I'm just going to move them until
aligns back. So something like this. So the next thing I can do is I'm just going to select another point that has problem here. So like here. And I'm just going to move this inward like this. A little tip for the cleanup: if you are trying to clean up things like this that have multiple shapes in one, it's be easier and better for you if you click out of your shape layer first and click back in, so you can select the brand new point. If not, you can draw points by mistake and nobody wants to do that. So I'm just going to click out here again and click back into my shape layer so I can move to another point. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my two logos layer up there. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my two layers here, the logo and logo mark layer, and click on R. So open my rotation properties, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to the font here. So let's say somewhere around here, and I'm going to make a keyframe on my rotation here. Now I'm going to move back to my beginning here, and I'm just going to rotate it backward like this, so to around somewhere like -30. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this forward a little bit more, and I'm just going to increase this so somewhere around here. So now we have this simple animation. And what I can just do is I can open my position keyframe right here. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to select my two layers here. Okay, before that, let me just move this backward a little bit. So let's say somewhere around here. And I'm going to do the same thing with all my text. I'm just going to shift them backward to like here. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select these two layers here, my logo matter, my logo layer. I'm going to click R, open my rotation property, and I'm going to somewhere around here, like 0.15 frames, and I'm just going to make a frame on my rotation right here and just move it to the front, so somewhere like here. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to increase it by like 20. So on my two sides here. And what I'm just going to do at the beginning of my keyframe, or my timeline here, sorry, I'm just going to put this at -20. So we have this simple animation. Now, when it comes back the front here, I want it to overshoot again. So I'm just going to do almost the same thing, but I'm just going to move this forward again. So let's say these two, we're going to move it forward somewhere around here. And for this one now, we're just going to take it to the front, and let's see a -12 or 13. So now this is what we have. Cool. Now we'll come to this point where it hits the front here. So this point here, and at this point, we're just going to move all our text layers to that particular point. So everything now, we're just going to move it here. We're going to open up the position key for all our text layers here and just come forward our timeline somewhere like this and make a keyframe on that. Hold down Shift, click S, and make a keyframe on your scale property too. And hold down Shift, click R, and make a keyframe on your rotation property also. Now I can just come back to the beginning of my text animations here. I'm just going to reduce all my animations to like 20, like the scale, like 20, so it becomes really small. What I'm just going to do, I'm just going back to my move tool here. I'm just going to take all the shape layers and just move them to this position right here. So let's go one by one to all my shape layers here. Let's move this down here. Now what we're going to do is we are going to the middle here of these two keyframes, so somewhere around here. And we're going to select all our text layers again. So till here. And we're just going to move them up. We'll go back to 50%. And let's just move them up like this. Now, for our scale here, we're going to change our scale to 40. And let's go back to the beginning of our keyframes here and change the initial scale to 0. So if you did that right, it's supposed to just have this weird looking animation right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my pen tool right here. And the good thing with the pen tool is that with the pen tool here, you can actually fine tune the motion of your actual animations. So if I come to my C animation right here, and what I can do is that let's select anything first. Come over to only see here. If I click this, it's going to give it my Bezier handles here that I can actually just drag out like this. And I can just click this also and just give it a very simple curve down here. Now when this C is animating now, it's going to animate along this curve that I'm creating. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same thing but for each of my text layers so that it can actually animate smoothly. I don't want it to be this sharp. Same thing for the H. Drag it out here like this. And I'm going to click here and I'm just going to adjust the curve so it's smooth. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to begin my text animation right here. I'm just going to select everything from the T down to the C again. And I'm just going to add a 3 at the beginning of my animation right here. Okay, now, so I'm going to the middle of our animation right here. And I'm just going to add another keyframe right here. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to select everything on my keyframes around here to the beginning of the text layers here, and I'm going to click F9 to ease. Now I'm going to click P to open up my position keyframes, and now I'm just going to select the keyframes for my position only, and I'm just going to edit them like so. So this part here, I'm just going to raise it up. So I'm just going to raise it to somewhere like here. And I'm just going to raise this part also to join it. So something like this. Now I want it to start slow. So I can just select my point here and just drag this down to something like this. But I want this middle part now to start up fast and end slow. So I'm just going to adjust it until it comes something like this. So with this one now, I can just shift it back. I can just shift it until I see something like this. Now, I can open up my rotation keyframes also, and I can just select all my rotation keyframes and just come into my graph editor here. I'm just going to select the middle place first, and I want it to end on a slow note. So I can just drag this in with something like this. So for this one now, I'm just going to move it up a little bit. So I'm just going to drag it somewhere around this place, and I'm just going to use this and follow it there. And I want this to end really fast, so I'm just going to drag this to the front here. So I can just drag this to the front a little bit, so somewhere like here. And I'm just going to drag this in also. So let's just select this and just drag it in like this. So this is what I have now. And that's looking beautiful. So I can close up my text layer here because I don't need to edit anything here again. And now for my logo and my logo mat layer here, what I'm going to do is at the point in time, so click on P. After it's finished animating right here, I don't actually need this logo mat layer here. So for what I'm just going to do is I'm going to select these two layers here and use Ctrl+Shift+D, duplicate and actually cut the layers. So I don't need this one anymore. And I can just move this that has the mat already up here. And I can delete this position keyframes from the short one here. So let's just delete. Now, at this moment in time where our text is coming down here, I don't want this ChatGPT icon to be here anymore. So I can come to my new layer here that's open here, and I can just click on P. So this is my position keyframe here. I'm just going to shift it to the front. So somewhere around here. Okay, it's still too slow. Let's just move it back a little bit. So somewhere here. And that's looking good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my two layers here and click here to open up all my keyframes, and I'm just going to drag these two final keyframes backward to this place here so I can shorten it properly. Now I'm going to select both my rotation keyframes on these two icons here. So these two here, I'm going to click F9 to ease. Now if you see it's like our text layer is lagging behind a little bit. So I want it to start copying out from somewhere around here. So I can just select all my text layers here, and I'm just going to bring it to the front like so. So what I'm going to do now is let me select this my keyframes here, open my graph editor here, and I'm just going to make sure that it's slow towards the end. And in this middle part also, let's just zoom in so we can have final control of it. So this is our middle part here. We're just going to take it out like this. Our last part here, I'm just going to leave it. Okay, now we're going to use our logo 2 layer here. There's our second part of our logo layer here. And I'm going to click Shift R to pick up our rotation keyframe also. So I can just delete this format keyframes here because I don't need them anymore. And I'm just going to change this to 0 so I can line up perfectly well with it. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going forward in my timeline, let's say somewhere around here. And I'm just going to make a keyframe on the rotation right here. I'm going to move it to the front. So let's just move it down right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another keyframe. And this one now, I'm just going to rotate it to the back a little bit, something like this. Okay, so next I'm going to do is I'm just coming to my logo layer here. And I'm just going to the end of my layer here. And I'm just going to move this keyframe down like here. Come back to the beginning, so somewhere around here. And I'm just going to copy and paste the keyframe right there. I'm just going to take it backward a little bit, so something like this. When you play it now, have a small animation. So I'm just going to select this right here, F9 to easy ease, and let's open it up. I want it to start fast and end slow. So something like this is going to be very, very good. So play back, and that's cool. Now let's adjust our time a little bit. So let's bring it to the front here, and let's see it now. Let's move it backward a little bit. That's cool. So now that we have a lot more space, now we can move this to the front here and just make sure it's aligned properly. And let's ease this also. Sorry, I forgot about this now. And in our graph editor, I want it to end very, very slow. Let's move this up and move this up also. This is something like this, and move this one down. And we're just going to adjust it like this. So let's just move this backward like this, and that's what we have. And that's looking amazing. The first thing I'm going to do is let's just close up all these layers right here. And I'm just going to activate motion blur here, F4 to change modes. And I'm going to activate motion blur on all our layers here, apart from our background layers, because we actually need it. And now if you play back, this is what we have. So I'm going to say I made a mistake on this my text layers here. So I'm just going to select text layers here and click on P over my position keyframes. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move to this my last layer here. I'm going to select all the keyframes. I'm going to copy it. Then I'm going to move the keyframes backward to somewhere like here. And I'm going to paste my new keyframes here like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it downward like this. Okay, so I'm just going to open my graph editor here again, and I'm just going to zoom in, and I'm just going to select my keyframes here and just pull them outward a little bit. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to select all these keyframes here, and I'm just going to move it to the back like here. Okay, now let's play it back. Okay, it's like my A is having a little issue. So I'm just going to my A layer here, and I'm just going to zoom in. And now I'm just going to my pen tool here, and I'm just going to click here so that I can actually arrange the motion properly.
Thank you for watching this video. Now that you have learned how to make this, why don't you check out this other video instead? Or you can also check out this one.